10 biggest unsolved mysteries in American history since the beginning of time. Human beings have been storytellers. We share myths, legends, and tales, not just to entertain, but to preserve a piece of ourselves for the future. Every culture has its mysteries, and every generation inherits unanswered questions. But in America, where history is still young compared to other civilizations, the mysteries feel even closer, almost within reach. They aren't just old legends carved into stone. They're stories that happened in recent centuries, often in living memory. And yet, they remain unsolved. We're drawn to them because we crave conclusions. Our brains want endings. But unsolved mysteries deny us that closure end in doing so. Te unduus. Today, we'll explore 10 of the biggest unsolved mysteries in American history, from daring escapes and vanished aviators to supernatural legends and million-dollar treasures. These are the stories that continue to captivate, confuse, and mystify us. So sit back, and let's begin our journey into the unknown. 1. The vanishing of Amelia Earhart. Few mysteries in American history are as enduring as the disappearance of Amelia Earhart. On July 2, 1937, Earhart set off on the most ambitious flight of her career, an attempt to become the first woman to fly around the world. With her navigator, Fred Noonan, she departed from Lahaina, New Guinea, heading toward a tiny island in the Pacific called Howland Island. Critical refueling stop, but she never made it. Radio operators received intermittent transmissions from her Lockheed Electra. The final messages sounded frantic. She reported running low on fuel and being unable to locate the island. Then, silence. Silence. President Franklin Roosevelt authorized one of the largest search operations in naval history. For weeks, the U.S. Navy scoured 250,000 square miles of ocean. Nothing was found. Theories exploded. Some believe Earhart's plane simply ran out of fuel and sank into the vast Pacific. Others insist she crash-landed on a Japanese-held island, captured and executed as a spy. Conspiracy theorists even claim she survived, returned to America under a new identity, and lived in secret. In 1940, skeletal remains were found on Nikumaroro, a remote Pacific island. At the time, they were dismissed as male bones. Decades later, a new analysis suggested they could have been a woman of Earhart's build, but the bones were lost, preventing DNA testing. As recently as 2024, sonar scans detected what looked like an aircraft wreck 16,000 feet deep in the Pacific. Some believe this could finally be Earhart's Electra. But until it is raised and proven, the world's most famous female aviator remains lost her disappearance. An unsolved mystery for nearly a century. 2. The escape from Alcatraz. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, nicknamed The Rock, was the most secure prison in America. Located on an island in San Francisco Bay, it was believed to be escape-proof. The icy, fast-moving waters surrounding it made survival nearly impossible. But in June 1962, inmates Frank Morris and brothers, John and Clarence Anglin, attempted the unthinkable. For months, they chiseled through concrete walls, using sharpened spoons and smuggled tools. They built life vests and a raft out of raincoats. And on the night of June 11th, they slipped through a ventilation shaft, climbed the prison walls, and vanished into the dark waters. The next morning, guards found their empty cells. On the beds were dummy heads crafted from plaster, flesh-colored paint, and real human hair to fool guards during bed checks. Did they drown in the freezing bay currents? Or did they make it to freedom? The FBI investigated for 17 years before closing the case, claiming the men likely drowned, but the U.S. Marshals Service never stopped searching. Over the years, there have been alleged sightings, photographs, even a letter in 2013, supposedly written by one of the Anglin brothers claiming survival. No bodies were ever found. To this day, the Alcatraz escape remains one of America's greatest mysteries. Did they perish or succeed in the impossible? 3. The Knights of the Golden Circle. Secret societies have always fascinated Americans, but one in particular, known as the Knights of the Golden Circle, may have shaped U.S. history in ways still debated today. Founded in 1854 by George W. L. Bickley, the group's mission was shocking: to create a new empire where slavery would flourish. Their dream was to conquer the southern U.S., Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, forming a massive slaveholding supernation called the Golden Circle. The group spread rapidly. Rumors suggest that members included influential politicians, governors, and even senators. Some believe John Wilkes Booth, Lincoln's assassin, was connected to the society and that the assassination itself may have been part of their agenda. After the Civil War and the Union victory, the group supposedly collapsed, but whispers continued. Treasure hunters claim the Knights buried millions of dollars in gold across the country, hidden to finance a future uprising. Some modern extremist groups even claim lineage from the original order. Were they truly dismantled, or do remnants of this secret society still exist in the shadows of American history? The truth remains uncertain. 4. The Gardner Museum heist. In the early hours of March 18, 1990, two men dressed as Boston police officers rang the buzzer at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. The guards, unsuspecting, let them in. Within minutes, the guards were handcuffed and the thieves moved quickly through the museum, cutting priceless paintings from their frames. In just 81 minutes, they stole 13 works of art, including Rembrandt's Only Seascape and a Vermeer, so rare it could never be sold. Publicly, the value, over $500 million, the largest art theft in history. Despite countless theories, Italian mobsters, Irish terrorists, Boston crime lords, the paintings have never reached. Empty frames still hang in the museum, awaiting their return. Even a $10 million FBI reward has failed to crack the case. The Gardner heist remains not just a crime, but a cultural scar, one of the most audacious mysteries in American history. 5. The Mothman of Point Pleasant. On November 15th, 1966, two young couples were driving near an abandoned munitions plant outside Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Suddenly, they saw a creature that defied explanation. A towering humanoid with 10-foot wings and glowing red eyes. The Mothman, as newspapers dubbed it, became an instant legend. For over a year, locals reported strange sightings: creatures chasing cars, perching on rooftops, even stealing pets. In 1967, tragedy struck when the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant collapsed, killing 46 people. Many believed the Mothman was an omen, a supernatural warning. The legend grew after John Keel's 1975 book The Mothman Prophecies and the 2002 Hollywood movie. Today, Point Pleasant celebrates the creature with a museum and an annual festival. Skeptics claim it was nothing more than a misidentified sandhill crane. Believers say otherwise, whether cryptid, omen, or mass hysteria. The Mothman remains one of America's strangest unsolved mysteries. 6. The lost treasure of Dutch Schultz. During Prohibition, mobster Dutch Schultz made millions smuggling alcohol. But in 1935, fearing tax evasion charges, he supposedly buried a steel box filled with cash, gold, and jewels worth up to $100 million in New York's Catskill Mountains. Days later, Schultz was gunned down by rivals. With him died the location of the treasure. For decades, fortune hunters have scoured the Catskill. Maps have surfaced, stories retold, but no treasure has been found. Some say it was discovered long ago in secret. Others believe it's still buried, waiting to be unearthed. The lost fortune of Dutch Schultz is one of the most enduring tales of buried treasure in American history. 7. The Mary Celeste. On November 7, 1872, the Mary Celeste set sail from New York, bound for Italy. A month later, it was found adrift near Portugal. The ship was perfectly seaworthy. Cargo intact, supplies untouched. But the crew, including the captain, his wife, and young daughter, had vanished. The lifeboat was missing, but no signs of struggle were found. Why would an experienced captain abandon ship? Explanations ranged from mutiny to piracy, from gas explosions to seaquakes. Some invoke supernatural causes, but in over 150 years, no conclusive evidence has emerged. The Mary Celeste remains a ghost ship in American maritime lore. 8. The bird deaths of Beebe, Arkansas on New Year's Eve, 2010. The town of Beebe, Arkansas, experienced something straight out of a horror film. Just before midnight, thousands of blackbirds suddenly fell from the sky, crashing into homes, cars, and streets. Over 5,000 birds died that night. Theories pointed to fireworks, startling the flock. But when the phenomenon repeated the following year with no fireworks involved, questions deepened. Was it a weather anomaly? A toxic release? Something else entirely. The mass bird deaths stopped after 2011, but the mystery of what caused them remains unsolved. 9. The mystery of D.B. Cooper. On November 24, 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper boarded a flight from Portland to Seattle. He handed a stewardess a note. He had a bomb. His demands: $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. After the ransom was delivered in Seattle, Cooper ordered the plane to take off again. Somewhere over Washington state, in stormy weather, he lowered the rear stairs and parachuted into the night. Neither Cooper nor the money was ever found. Over the decades, hundreds of suspects have been investigated. A few bundles of his ransom money were discovered buried along the Columbia River in 1980, but that only deepened the mystery. Did Cooper survive the jump, or did he perish in the wilderness? No one knows. The FBI officially closed the case in 2016, but D.B. Cooper remains the only unsolved hijacking in U.S. history. 10. The Gerdo Light. In the forests of Arkansas, near old railroad tracks, locals tell of a ghostly phenomenon: the Gerdo Light. Since the 1930s, residents have reported a floating orb of light hovering above the tracks. White, blue, sometimes orange. It moves unpredictably, drifting, darting, glowing in the night. Some believe it is the lantern of a railroad worker decapitated in an accident, forever searching for his head. Skeptics propose scientific explanations, such as swamp gas or piezoelectric effects from quartz beneath the ground. Yet, no definitive explanation has ever been proven. The Gerdo Light remains one of America's most enduring paranormal mysteries. Conclusion. From missing aviators and vanished prisoners to secret societies, stolen art, cryptids, and buried treasure, America's history is filled with mysteries that defy explanation. What makes these stories so powerful is not just the lack of answers, but the way they fuel our imagination. Each theory, each retelling, keeps the mystery alive. Maybe one day, science, luck, or persistence will solve some of them. But until then, they remain what we love most: stories without endings. And sometimes, those are the stories that endure forever.